I've been on this train for a long time. Some would argue the first person on the train. Toot, 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 toot my own horn. I said, the NFL wants 18 games. The NFLPA says, no, we can't do any more games because of how banged up we are. I said, well, why don't we do good business? Why don't we extend the hand? Reaching out.
Touching
me.
Touching you. Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba.
So I figured a good business. If one wants 18, one wants 16, we've all seen Pawn Stars. Let's agree at 17. That was just common sense. I was the first person, I think, to say it publicly, but now everybody's on side. I assume the big brains that are in negotiations have already thought about this. A 17-game NFL season is becoming more and more likely, is what's coming out of these CBA negotiations, and is soon to be wrapped up, is what we've been told. Last time when the CBA went into negotiation, there was a lockout, which is much different than a strike. We wanted to go to work. The owner said, nah, don't come. We got some things we would like to negotiate with you boys. Those things included revenue sharing, drug testing, the length of schedule, off-season workouts, you name it. The things that have allegedly ruined football in a lot of the old heads' eyes. Not as much practice time, can't do 3-a-days anymore. You have to have a nutritionist. All the stuff that a lot of people have said make the NFL a softer league was all a part of that last CBA negotiation. It ran almost up to training camp. We had no spring. We had no off-season workouts. We weren't allowed to go to work. They locked the door out. I was right in the middle of my time in the substance of abuse policy where I was getting drug tested 8 times a month for an alleged incident that happened on October 20th, 2010. I was getting tested 8 times a month, couldn't even have alcohol, couldn't even look at alcohol. If there was a picture of me with alcohol, I was fined on the spot immediately. 8 times a month I was tested. I had to report to them like I had a PO every time I left Indianapolis, Indiana, where I was going, where I was staying, and 2 phone numbers they could reach me at. I went hunting for Bigfoot down in Georgia with a deaf guy. They drug tested me at 4:30 in the morning in the middle of the hills of Georgia at a Motel 8 bathroom. I was drug tested everywhere. Then when the lockout came, guess what we don't have anymore? We don't have a substance of abuse policy anymore. We don't have drug tests 8 times a month. We don't have any of that. You're free, they said to me. I said, well, damn. I'm going to go on a bender here. It can't be that long of a lockout. Turns out it was. It was a very long one. I played for the Columbus Crew like the first week or so of that lockout, realized that I wasn't nowhere near in the shape I should have been to be on a soccer field, could barely get out of bed, got a call from a third-party person that said, hey, Pat, this lockout isn't going to last forever. If you get hurt playing soccer, you're going to regret that for the rest of your life. You're right. So I stopped, and I decided the move was I'm going to go on a bender now. Now's the time for me to get everything in me that I need, because as soon as the season starts back up, I have another 1.5 years of 8 tests a month. It's like whenever you're eating or like going into a fast and you just try to eat so much that your body doesn't want any more food, that your body's just at a point where it's like, I'm going to do as much as I can so I don't want it for the next 1.5 years. That's what I said I was going to do during this lockout. So I went after it. 10 days became 20. 20 became 50. 50 became 100 some days. I almost died out there, but I made a promise to myself that I was going to go till I can't no mo. And if you ask any vet who had actual money in the bank account, not the younger people who were going broke because of the lockout, not the people who had didn't buy the Cobra insurance like we were told to do for 2 years, those people hated the lockout, needed the checks, needed to get back. Even though they told us to prepare for a lockout for years, save your money, all that stuff, there's people that didn't, and they hated the lockout. You ask anybody who, like, saved money a little bit and had no debt and things like that, that lockout was awesome. I was looking for that lockout every offseason. Are we going to have a lockout every single offseason? This is beautiful. Obviously, for business, you don't want to get to that point. And for this CBA, I think both sides realized the lockout wasn't good for business on either side. So now they've been negotiating. DeMaurice Smith and Roger Goodell, 2 people that have very little in common, have come to find a common ground to make sure that the NFL remains the greatest league of all time. They said that deal is near done, which would be early, by the way. And when you're negotiating billions and billions of dollars to get a deal done early is something that should be commended for both sides. Now, who won the negotiation? Let's assume that the NFL won. The NFL has 32 billionaires. They have all the best lawyers on earth. They're making all of the monies from everywhere. Let's assume that they out-negotiated the NFLPA's lawyers, who are talented, but they're not being paid by 32 billionaires. They're being paid by like 1,000 or so rich guys who aren't really paying that much. They're just getting money taken. It's an interesting thing. It's like when you walk into Pawn Stars, you know Rick's going to get you. You know you're going to lose. That's kind of what happens with the NFLPA negotiating with the NFL, but it seems as if both sides have realized that we need each other in this thing. Hey, we need each other in this thing. The 17-game season is one that they said is probably going to happen. This is good for football. This is more game for football. I would argue that you have to have another bye week, so now you have 19 weeks of football, regular season football to make money off of, to televise, to sell out stadiums. People say, well, with a 17-game schedule, how are the schedulers going to set that up? I think there's one neutral site game for every single team. I think you should get creative with that. Whether it's a college stadium, why not a big-ass high school stadium? I think that would be an absolutely incredibly cool thing. Sell out Michigan, the big house, 100,000. Get the Patriots up there, Tom Brady from Michigan. Have them play against somebody else that has maybe who's Michigan State's biggest football player?
Kirk Cousins.
Okay, so have the Patriots and Vikings at the big house. I would assume you'd be able to get people there and travel there. That'd be an awesome thing. Have more overseas games. Maybe have a game down in Australia. Australia's starting to create real NFL talent. Almost a quarter at this point, almost maybe a third of the punters in the NFL have incredible accents and come from down under. And this football is like their third sport they've played. Why not have a game down there? I think they can get very creative. Add another bye week so that the boys can rest another week. And although it is a struggle to get through a 17-week schedule, 16 games in 17 weeks, I think if the money rises and they get another week rest and everything else like that, I think that's a good negotiation. I'm happy the NFL is on that side, and I'm excited to watch it all kind of play out. Will 17 become 18 in the next CBA? I don't know. There is conversation that they want to expand the playoff system. I don't want that. I think the playoffs are good how they are. Win your division, 2 wild cards, bang, you're in. That's how it should be.
It's absolutely perfect right now. Unless you're expanding teams, there's no reason to add more teams to the playoffs.
The only reason why you would add playoffs is because the amount of money that you make off TV and everything's primetime television. Now, granted, for a player's side, you don't get your normal salary. You actually everybody gets a set amount. A lot of people are taking big-time pay cuts to play in the playoffs, but when you get to the playoffs, it's not about the paycheck. It's about the team making a run, do something legendary.
Amen.
So if you're the NFL, you'd obviously want to expand the playoffs. You have to pay players less, and you get more money from primetime television. That's a smart thing, but I'm assuming that's going to have to happen in a negotiation.